Hello everyone, and welcome to another Deep Dives Discussions video, where I'll be talking about Resident Evil 4 Remake. I've not mentioned this before, but I am a massive fan of the Resident Evil series, shock horror. In fact, the original Resident Evil was my first ever horror game, so of course the series holds a special place in my heart. There's plenty of time to elaborate on that another time. For now, as Resident Evil 4 Remake was shown off during the recent Resi Showcase stream, I thought I'd get my thoughts out there. Resident Evil 4 flipped the franchise on its head, going from pre-rendered backdrops and fixed camera angles to an over-the-shoulder action affair with fully modelled environments. Normally, with these kinds of changes comes resistance from the fans, but everyone loved it. As a result, it became the standard for the franchise going forward, all the way up until 7 and Village, although they've just added a third-person mode to that as well, so make of that what you will. As one of the most popular games in the franchise, the usual concerns surrounding remakes seem to hit hard amongst the community, only to have their fears alleviated upon seeing the actual footage and hearing first-hand accounts from people that have played it. With that in mind, let's have a quick discussion about it. The first thing I wanted to talk about was my initial concerns regarding the overall tones of Resident Evil 4 Remake. For those that have played the original, you'll be accustomed to its light-heartedness and general sense of humour. There was always a fun campiness to it that sat nicely alongside the action and horror elements. Like the changes to the camera, this was another departure from what we all come to know and love about Resident Evil, but Capcom made it work, and it made the game and story more engaging. With the grittiness of the recent remakes, there was some concern when Resident Evil 4 Remake was announced that the final product would lose some of its original personality. It's easy to see why people would come to this conclusion, but from what we saw in the trailer, and also confirmed by those that have played it, it looks like RE4 is going to retain its style. That being said, I personally am still expecting a level of grit, if you will. I mean, the remakes for Resident Evil 2 and 3 were great, so seeing 4 in that same style is an exciting prospect. If they can balance it with a good sense of humour and some witty one-liners, then this might just be their best remake yet. But not everyone is a fan of the remakes and still prefer things to remain the same. I'd be interested in hearing what you prefer, so let me know in the comments. Another thing that made Resident Evil 4 great was its combat. Some of it went hand in hand with the humour, with Leon performing exaggerated spin kicks and dropping mad suplexes on enemies. In the new trailer, we've seen the spin kick in full force, but not the suplex. I, for one, really hope the suplex makes it back in. When the remake was announced, one thing I really wanted to know was whether you had to stand and shoot. According to people that have had hands-on, this is not the case. It looks like you're going to have complete freedom of movement now, which is fine, I think. Purists might not like the idea of that freer movement, potentially taking away from the panic of restricted movement of the original, but I think it's a good change. As I said in my last video, changes to controls are fine as long as you still feel under pressure in these kind of games, and I'm sure the peeps over at Capcom can really do it justice. Leon also looks like he's been given a new tool in the form of a parry. Yes, a bloody parry, and I tell you what, I love it. I feel it's going to add a new depth to combat encounters and even have a massive impact on the speedrunning community, who are going to thrive when they learn the parry timings, making their runs look incredibly stylish. This knife parry does bring something else into question, and that's the knife's durability. If you look closely during the trailer, the knife has a bar that depletes when used and even breaks when parrying at the chainsaw. We know you'll be able to repair the knife later, but I wonder how that's going to affect speedrunners overall, who love the knife-only category in Resident Evil games. Do you like this change to the knife? Please let me know. The next thing I want to talk about is the length of Resident Evil 4. Don't get me wrong, I don't have any secret intel about the game length, but I am basing this solely on the length of Resident Evil 3 Remake. The crowd was divided on Resident Evil 3 Remake's length, some being happy that it was short and the game remixed. Others were not happy that it didn't stick close to the original. I quite like the fact that 3 was so different and shorter. It meant I could always go back to the original RE3 and enjoy it just as much as I do the new version. Resident Evil 2 Remake was longer and kept the same beats as the original, apart from adding some new segments, much like the original Resident Evil 1 HD remaster. We've only seen a little bit of Resident Evil 4 Remake so far, but the rest of the game could be vastly different. We just don't know yet, as we've not seen enough. We know some stuff will be different at least, as seen in one part of the trailer where Ashley holds a gun to Leon. I'm always happy to have new segments, as long as they're done well. If we were to simply get a graphics upgrade with exactly the same layout and progression, I feel it would be a missed opportunity. Shadow of the Colossus was done in the same way, and it added nothing new to its legacy. Thankfully, Capcom have done their games proud so far. Although I will say, I hope we still get the 3 sections we are familiar with: the village, which we've already seen of course, the castle and the island. Those areas should all be given significant time to breathe in the remake. Lastly, I want to see how you all feel in regards to the choices made with the voice acting. Right now, it's unconfirmed, but it looks like Paul Mercier, the original voice actor for the Merchant, will not be returning to reprise his role. Interestingly, Paul not only voiced the Merchant, but also Leon in the original. Being as Leon is now consistently voiced by Nick Apostolides, as seen in Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, I can also see why they may decide to opt for someone new as the Merchant. Either way, the internet seems a little sad over this fact, and it's easy to see why. For many years, the Merchant's voice has become so iconic, and let's be honest, we've all sat there trying to imitate it, so this change will be slightly jarring for some, but nothing we won't be able to accept in time. Another change, which seems to have upset some of the fanbase, is the change to the voice of Ada Wong. In Resident Evil 2 Remake, Ada was voiced by Jolene Anderson, who of course did a great job. Now, Ada is being replaced by Lily Gao, who actually played Ada in the latest Resident Evil movie, Welcome to Raccoon City. There have been some rumours circling the reason for the replacement, mainly down to Lily being a non-union voice actor, but I don't want to speculate here without knowing more. All I care about is whether Lily brings some believability to the performance, and right now it's a bit difficult to tell from the short clips we have seen. If she does well, then fantastic. I'm not personally attached to Jolene, given that multiple people have voiced Ada over the years already, so I'm happy to see how she does. But maybe there's more to it than that you guys know, so as always, please let me know in the comments. Overall, what do we all think of how Resident Evil 4 Remake is shaping up? I personally think it looks fantastic and welcome the updates. Luckily, Resident Evil 4 is one of those titles that is literally available on everything, so if you're not a fan of the new direction, you can easily go back to the old one. It's a stark difference to the Silent Hill 2 remake, where if you want to play the original, your options are limited. Once again, please use the comment section of this video to have a discussion about what you think. If you haven't done it already, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and also like this video. If you want to keep up to date with the video news or thoughts that come out of my head, please give me a follow on Twitter at DonPedroX. If you want to support what I do, I have a Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. Right, see you next time.